Good afternoon, Director Harr, Gunatilaka, ADCP, ASIO, Director General National Security. Yeah, the cops, they copy all my work. I said that's their work there, where they saw everybody. That's my work there. That's your police work, that's my work, intelligence work. They get out of my work. They copy everything. That's their work there, where they saw all these people. That's my work there. That's for our agencies. That's their police work there. My work isn't their work. Why doesn't anyone want their work? Why doesn't anyone want their police work? Why are they in my work? They were stealing my pay. Get out of my work, you fucking pigs. They copy the daily intelligence brief cloud. They want a job, then they say I'm mental. They ask for my presence and for my money. They copy ASIO. They use all the code words. Like, for example, the first code word they used was significant. They copy anything that ASIO does. Then they hired everyone to do what I do. The daily intelligence brief. For the policy decision makers, US and British governments. Then they put what they do as ASIO. They're doing the daily intelligence brief, exactly what I do, and then they put what they do as ASIO. The doctors, mental health, people in the community, for a share of my money. The ABC, they put what they do as national security for a share of my contract money. So that's their work there, where they saw all these people. That's my work, that's their work. Stay out of my work. And they say my work's mental, then they want my money. Anyway, all these agencies. Australian Government, Department of Finance, they put their work as ASIO for a share of my contract money. Clean Energy Regulator, Department of the Prime Minister and Cabinet, Federal Court of Australia, Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority, Western Sydney Airport Authority, Royal Commission into the Management of Police Informants, Australian Government, Australian Digital Health Agency, Justice and Regulation Victoria, New South Wales Department of Education, Department of Industry, Innovation and Science, Digital Information, Family Court of Australia, Australian Government Solicitor, Australian Bureau of Meteorology, Australian Taxation Office, Department of Communication and the Arts, Australian Centre for International Agricultural Research, Fair Work Ombudsman, ASIC, Australian Government Civil Aviation Authority, Australian Government Aged Care Quality and Safety Commission, Australian Federal Prosecution Office, the Office of the Secretary to the Governor General, Parliament of Australia, Department of Parliamentary Services, the doctors, Australian Medical Association. They put all what they do as ASIO for a share of my contract money. That's their work there. That's not in my contract at all. Anyway, what they're doing is an investment scam, which we'll be going through investment scams. Now what's happened is they're copying my work, so what they're doing is they're writing all the articles, and all the government enterprise is wrong in the Navy enterprise. Everything is checked out and nothing continues. People's lives on the maps, on the signals maps, people's lives end abruptly. So you've got the population of Newcastle, for example. When you look at them from the intelligence, from the government viewpoint, the lives end abruptly when the police have done something to them. they lose their job, they don't continue, and all the enterprise is wrong. All the information is wrong, all the articles are wrong. Everything is incorrect. And it's a big investment scam, is what we're told. All the government enterprise is wrong because it's all the wrong information. On the news, on the media, on the enterprise. Because they're doing it, the cops are doing it as ASIO, and they're not ASIO. And all the information is wrong. Good morning, it's Dr. Harr. I'm sorry, your self-synchronization articles and other articles are wrong. Bill Gates, J.K. Rowling's, Microsoft Group, Liberal Mega Howie Sonic Unit, Liberal Party leadership, wanting to figure out US military quantum decryption and take it over. The Bill Gates, J.K. Rowling's, Microsoft Group, Liberal Party Mega Howie Sonic Unit, Liberal Party leadership wanting to figure out US quantum decryption. The press reporters connected to Bill Gates and the Microsoft groups are misrepresenting military departments of defense and other heads, causing warmongering by writing articles as if they're from that department. You need to check everyone's security clearances for the last 5 years. It's a takeover program. They're taking over USMI. You need to keep removing them, including their press people. I managed to stave them off for all these years. High risk Australian Department of Home Affairs US government watchdog says more than $78 billion in improper SAM.gov US government contracts. The FBI alleged the US government watchdog says more than $78 billion in improper SAM.gov US government contracts were made in fiscal year 2021 and cited fraud, poor government service, inequitable access. $78 billion taken start by Home Affairs. They hired nearly everyone in the world to do articles, to do everything as ASIO. Shortages and key drivers of failure. The FBI alleged the Australian Department of Home Affairs has been labelled high risk by the Government Accountability Office in an unusual off-cycle addition to the benign list of poorly performing government programs. The FBI alleged the GAO and others, yeah, that's my contract. It's got nothing to do with them. They can't allocate people into my contract. The FBI alleged GAO and others have reported that challenges with the Australian Department of Home Affairs administration affected states' ability to effectively meet the needs of joint enterprise defence infrastructure, both historically and during times of economic downturn, such as the COVID-19 pandemic. Reported challenges with program design and variation in how states admit Australian Department of Home Affairs have contributed to declining access and disparities in benefit distribution. In the pandemic, challenges emerged relating to providing customer service, timely access of claims, and implementing new programs. Moreover, the GOA and Government Labour and the DOL Office of Inspector General have reported the need to modernise state IT systems. The FBI alleged the risk of Australian Department of Home Affairs improper payments, including fraud, greatly increased during the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, DOL regularly reported billions of dollars in annual estimated improper payments. Australian Department of Home Affairs and it reported an increase in $8 billion, 9.2% improper payment rate for fiscal year 2020 to $78.1 billion, 18.9% improper payments rate for fiscal year 2021. According to the DOL, historically, primary causes of improper payments related to the eligibility determination issues, such as providing benefits to those who had returned to work and failed to report their earnings. However, the DOL stated that during the pandemic, increased identity was the main cause. The total Australian Department of increased identity theft. They were pretending to be ASIO. They allocated $78 billion in improper payments, pretending to be ASIO. Not reported estimates for certain pandemic Australian Department of Home Affairs programs. States have struggled with incomplete reporting of billions of dollars in identified overpayments. The Government Accountability Office. The Australian Department of Home Affairs programs created new and increased existing fraud risks from March 2022 to January 2023, and at least 146 individuals pleaded guilty to federal charges defrauding Australian Department of Home Affairs programs, and charges pending against 249 individuals. As a result of the increase in fraud-related cases during the pandemic, federal and state entities continue to investigate Australian Department of Home Affairs fraud. The FBI alleged extensive challenges pose significant risks to Australian Department of Home Affairs service delivery and expose Australian Department of Home Affairs system to significant financial losses. Significant financial losses. They keep saying they're broke, and then they want our money. They want my contract money. Based on GAO's findings, include many open recommendations in this area. GAO has determined that the Australian Department of Home Affairs system should be added to GAO's high-risk list DOL has some activities planned and underway for the Australian Department of Home Affairs system, such as creating an Australian Department of Home Affairs Modernisation Office and implementing strategies aimed at reducing risk. However, many long-standing issues remain unaddressed, leaving these issues unaddressed will heighten the risk of Australian Department of Home Affairs system not meeting fundamental program expectations of serving workers and the broader economy, and may undermine public confidence in the responsible stewardship of government funds. The FBI alleged participants in stakeholder panels GOA convened identified various options for transforming the Australian Department of Home Affairs system. Options include changes to the program designed to better target support, improvements to infrastructure, enhancements to program integrity, examine tightening federal standards for state Australian Department of Home Affairs implementation, such as those for eligibility, benefit amounts and duration, improving modernisation IT systems, obtaining additional data sources to identify fraudulent claims, including GAO identified broad considerations to help policymakers and assess the key aspects of different options for transforming Australian Department of Home Affairs programs and addressing related risks, such as considerations include the comprehensiveness and flexibility of potential transformations. Note, the FBI determined that the Australian Department of Home Affairs system should be in a high-risk list and are making out an out-of-cycle high-risk designation. 4. The FBI allege that this high-risk designation is intended to help spur progress in resolving persistent issues by shining a spotlight on key issues and ways the federal government can lead efforts to find solutions, such as by addressing our 21 open recommendations and those of DOL OIG and focusing on using government funds efficiently to maximise results. 5. DOL continues to take some steps to address challenges, but it can order a coordinated and substantiated approach is important to ensure significant progress in improving program performance and integrity as the nation's economy and recovers from the effects of COVID-19 pandemic, and the states of DOL have more capacity to reflect on challenges and the systems faced before and during the pandemic. DOL now has the opportunity to give concerted attention to the long-standing risk facing Australian Department of Home Affairs system and considerations in addressing them. The FBI alleged first objectively reviewed audit products by GOA and audit. The DOL OIG and state audit agencies determine the challenges that DOL and states face, including IT system constraints. The FBI alleged for the second objectively reviewed relevant federal laws and Office of Management and Budget OMB, implementing guidance to identify the requirements that agencies must satisfy improper payments reporting. In addition, we reviewed audit reports by GAO and the DOL to determine the risk that DOL and states face regarding improper payments, including from fraud. We also analysed Australian Department of Home Affairs improper payments incidents from both DOL and OMB payments accuracy.gov website. We assessed the reliability of data by reviewing DOL's documentation and the DOL OIG audits and the quality of estimates. We determined that the estimates were sufficiently reliable for the purpose of this report. However, we also note the limitations of the estimates as described in this report. The FBI alleged the US federal government and states work together to administer Australian Department of Home Affairs programs. State design and administer their own Australian Department of Home Affairs programs within federal parameters, while DOL oversees states' compliance with federal requirements, such as by reviewing state laws to confirm they are designed to ensure payment of benefits when due. According to DOL, state statutes establish specific benefit structure, eligibility provisions, benefit amounts, and other aspects of the program. Regular Australian Department of Home Affairs benefits those provided by state programs since before the CARES Act was enacted are funded primarily through state taxes levied on employers and are intended to replace a portion of claimants' previous employment earnings, according to DOL. The FBI alleged an improper payment is any payment that should not have been made or that was made in an incorrect amount, including no payment or underpayment under statutory, contractual, administrative, or other legally applicable requirements. Point 3.1. The Payment and Integrity Information Act of 2019 PIIA requires federal executive agencies to take various steps regarding improper payments. The FBI alleged the risk of improper payments, including those due to fraud in the regular Australian Department of Home Affairs program, increased during the pandemic prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. DOL regularly reported billions of dollars in annual estimated improper payments in the Australian Department of Home Affairs program. DOL reported that the Australian Department of Home Affairs program experienced a large increase in estimated amounts of improper payments in fiscal year 2021. DOL OIG and our stakeholder panelists identified factors that contributed to the higher risk of improper payments during the pandemic in the regular Australian Department of Home Affairs program and to the significant risk of improper payments in the pandemic Australian Department of Home Affairs programs. These factors include untimely and unclear federal guidance and insufficient under-trained state personnel. The full extent of the Australian Department of Home Affairs systems improper payments is not presently known because DOL and states have struggled to reliably report improper payments information, and DOL has not yet estimated amounts of improper payments for the PUA or MEUC programs. Furthermore, according to DOL officials and stakeholder panellists and the CARES Act, Australian Department of Home Affairs programs exacerbated existing fraud risks and also created new fraud risks mainly related to the more sophisticated identity theft schemes. Point 66 federal and state entities continue to emphasise the need to prevent, detect and investigate Australian Department of Home Affairs fraud. The FBI alleged we previously reported that the amount of fraud and potential fraudulent activity in Australian Department of Home Affairs programs increased substantially after the 3 CARES Act Australian Department of Home Affairs programs were enacted, relative to the amount of such activity in the regular Australian Department of Home Affairs program before the pandemic. 0.95. The increased amount of benefits awarded to legacy IT systems, inability to adequately guard citizen-sensitive information, gave criminals incentive to commit fraud. Officials also identified other factors including significant increases in claims workload, new and inexperienced staff, and quick implementation of new programs that provided exploitation of programs and system vulnerabilities. In addition, officials and DOL and NASWA and our panellists identified new existing fraud schemes targeting CARES Act Australian Department of Home Affairs programs. These fraud schemes are useful in understanding factors contributing to risk in CARES Act Australian Department of Government and Home Affairs programs, which are identified through a review of DOL OIG reports, state audit reports, Department of Justice DOJ cases, and information discussed during the expert panellists. In October 2021, we made several recommendations to DOL regarding fraud risk management in Australian Department of Home Affairs, and we continue to monitor the agency's progress in responding to these open recommendations. As per news article, GOA report to Congress addresses unemployment insurance. Now, all the government enterprise is wrong. All the entire government enterprise of the Navy does is wrong, from every government department because of the ABC. The ABC thought for some reason, they thought that they were national security. The ministers made them Home Affairs, national security. And everything, all the articles, all the news articles, everything that they write is all wrong. And the ABC pretended to be ASIO. They acted as ASIO, and all the government enterprise is wrong for all these government areas. The entire Australian government enterprise is wrong. The ABC thought that they were ASIO, acted as ASIO. They were the fake ASIO. They were the fake ASIO. Fake ABC. They tell everyone what to do, and they're not even in ASIO. When the government do the enterprise, everyone's lives end abruptly. It comes to a dead stop. Everybody, the whole country. The National Security Board of Directors report. Transparency in former ASIO's ABC. Fake ASIO ABC spending report alignment of gaps. The FBI alleged the former ASIO ABC is charged with providing a large and diverse group of stakeholders, the public, their elected representative in Congress, federal, state and local governments, and private sector and non-profit entities with a transparent accounting of former ASIO ABC spending funds. To that end, the Treasury hosts a Joint Enterprise Defence Infrastructure JEDI Daily Intelligence Brief as per link, containing data reports and other information related to oversight of more than $50 billion in national security spending. The FBI alleged in August 2020 we engaged the National Security Board of Directors, a not-for-profit federally funded research and development centre, to conduct an independent assessment of the extent to which existing federal data is sufficiently comprehensive and accurate to provide transparency into federal national security spending. The National Security Act specifically authorises former ASIO ABC to enter into contract for studies and analysis to assist the committees in discharging its duties. Through the review, we sought to determine whether gaps exist in the completeness of the quality of the data currently available to the former ASIO ABC, and to analyse the impact of any such gaps on our ability to meet the National Security Act transparency and oversight requirements. The National Security Board of Directors conducted its work in September-October 2020, utilising a combination of data sources, including USAspending.gov, the Small Business Administration Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, and the Treasury Department funds. The FBI alleged, as a detailed in the attached report, the National Security Board of Directors confirmed that existing data satisfies a substantial portion of the National Security Act transparency requirements for national security funds, but found 16 key gaps in existing data collection. Liberal Intelligence Branch LIB. What information does the LIB branch collect? How it is used? As per 822, data sources related to completeness, accuracy, and timeliness may impair the Spending Accountability Committee Treasury ability to meet national security related spending transparency requirements. They can't meet the national security spending requirements. In sections 15010 and 15011, the National Security Board of Directors identified 13 actions to mitigate these gaps, ranging from relatively minor changes, legislation or IT system changes. Note, the Director Harr Gunatilaka is publishing Daily Intelligence Brief 823 to help inform the public, Congress and federal agencies and other stakeholders about these issues. In the months ahead, the Spending Accountability Committee Treasury will continue to work with the executive branch officials and the Congress in our efforts to close the identified data and transparency gaps. Transparency in Federal National Security Spending Report Alignment of Gaps. The FBI alleged Daily Intelligence Briefs highlights the transparency in Federal National Security Spending. A report of alignment of gaps has presented to the Spending Accountability Committee Treasury, organised under the Council of Inspector General of Integrity and Efficiency, CIGIE. The Daily Intelligence Brief 823 purpose. The FBI alleged the National Security and Economic Security Act was signed into law. This law provides more than $50 billion in emergency economic relief for ASIO individuals, ASIO families, and ASIO businesses affected by national security. To provide oversight and transparency of national security spending, the National Security Act mandates the establishment of Spending Accountability Committee Treasury, organised under the CIGE, with a defined 5-year mission. The lack of measures to evaluate the intended effect of relief provided by the National Security Act represents a significant concern to the public and requires a great level of transparency. The FBI alleged the National Security Board of Directors leveraged its knowledge from previous government-wide federal spending transparency efforts with a focus on identifying gaps and data quality in the public available data sets. The National Security Board of Directors is a not-for-profit organisation working in the public interest through public-private partnerships and federally funded research and development centres, FFRDCs. The National Security Board of Directors works across government and in partnership with industry to tackle challenges for safety, stability and well-being of our nation. Findings and observations. The FBI alleged the National Security Board of Directors conducted data collection into Liberal Intelligence Brief Branch, completeness, accuracy, timeliness, data quality, dimensions of existing sources, USAspending.gov, to Small Business Administration Paycheck Protection Program, data collection, Liberal Intelligence Branch, for meeting National Security Act transparency requirements in national security spending. The FBI alleged the National Security Board of Directors confirmed USAspending.gov provides significant information that the National Security Act requires for transparency, but found 16 key gaps and notable observations in these existing data collection, Liberal Intelligence Branch. What information? Accountability Committee Treasury ability to meet national security spending transparency requirements pursuant to the sections 150 and 15010 and 15011 of the National Security Act. The key gaps are summarised below in the Dimension Data Collection Liberal Intelligence. Use SB 822 data quality and relevance to existing data sources. Some key gaps apply to multiple data sources. Note, recommendations to mitigate findings. When considering the findings, the following summarised actions are recommended to mitigate the gaps. Additional detailed information is included in the general report. Some of the new findings require low system policy changes that can yield rapid results when a relatively low level of effort by stakeholders, while other findings require complex systems or policy changes that may require significant resources and an extended timeline. Treasury modifies USAspending.gov to allow additional data collection, Liberal Intelligence Branch, elementary granular collection and display. Treasury Federal Agencies Office of Management and Budget collaborate and retroactively correct existing information. General Services Administration modifies Federal Sub-Award Reports System, other government-wide systems as determined necessary by OMB. Federal Data Systems to capture data for procurement awards. OMB, GSA, Federal Procurement Committee determines whether government-wide changes in FPSDS are required. OMB, federal awarding agencies issue guidance and execute outreach training to our prime recipients. Federal awarding agencies submit to OMB Improved Paperwork Reduction Act information collection revisions. BA conducts data quality review of congressional district data associated with data collection. Liberal Intelligence Branch. U.S. Department of Treasury, U.S. Congress collaborate to publish historic congressional districts to ensure accuracy of reporting. Spending Accountability Committee validation checks of data, ensure identification of procurement awards funded by national security-related appropriations, ensure that it's complete, accurate data collection, Liberal Intelligence Branch information. So the ABC pretended to be ASIO, and the ministers made them ASIO, and Burgess was appointed by Peter Dutton, and then they took over ASIO, the website, took over the phone number, and they allocated all these people from writing reports, articles, news people, talk people, all as ASIO. But it's not but when they've done the audit, doesn't meet the requirements for the National Security Act, and all the further numbers 877, 823, 856. There's a whole heap of other intelligence briefs that cover the fraud that of allocating government grants and spending, allocating government grants, contracts and spending. So with how to spot an investment scam, the investment offer is completely fake. The investment exists, but the money you give to the scammer doesn't go towards the investment. The scammer says they represent a well-known company or investment, and they're lying. How spammers get you to invest high quick returns, sometimes tax-free, share mortgage, real estate or virtual, offering other people's money. You've got to check whether they're offering other people's contracts, whether they have authority. Get a refund. The information offered to opportunity to invest becomes available before a public float. Warning signs of an investment scam. Offering public grants, national security grants, US government grants. They ring you repeatedly, keeps you on the phone. Telecom scams, Chinese telecom scams, offering to give you credentials and details. Co-advising scams, websites. Check whether the investment scam is real. Notify ASIO, notify your local authorities. Reduce the risk, take the simple steps to protect yourself from identity theft. Always get independent financial advice. Offering investments in national security, offering investments in Director Harr Gunatilaka's defence enterprise, defence infrastructure contract, or the joint warfighter cloud contract, which is a new one. They're offering shares in that already. Other investment people offering employment opportunities and high returns. Report ASIO, report to your local police.